Hello, Starfarers, and welcome back to the Tetra Galaxy Telecast. For today's transmissions topic, we'll be doing an analysis of the fifth and final major trailer for Metroid Prime 4, Beyond, the overview trailer. If you've seen my previous trailer analysis broadcast, you know the deal. If not, I'll be combing through each frame of this trailer, Spaceball style, for anything of interest, and I mean anything, from gameplay to lore to story and more. If it's there, I'm going to talk about it. Any information from the prior trailers or later footage relevant to this trailer analysis can and will be mentioned here, but otherwise, those either have their own broadcast by now, will be discussed at a later time, or won't be discussed on this channel. Well, I imagine you guys are chomping at the bit to dig into this trailer for every detail you can find, because I know I sure am. So with no further delays, let's begin! So like the previous trailer analyses, I'll be playing the trailer and stopping it when there's something of interest to speak of.
Explore a mysterious planet in this first-person adventure.
They call Prime 4 a first-person adventure game, which they also did back during the Treehouse. It's good to hear them emphasize this, as Prime has always been in this rather unique genre, as opposed to being a first-person shooter, something many people still seem to confuse it for being. The fact that they're insisting on its genre in the marketing gives me ever more confidence that Retro knows just what kind of game they're making.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. When the Galactic Federation UTO Research Center is attacked by arch-rival Silex.
Arch-rival Silex? What happened to Ridley? Oh my god, wait a minute. Guys, I figured it out! Silex is Ridley!
The lone hunter Samus Aran.
Samus is called the Lone Hunter here. I think the use of lone is significant, as I think that, given the presence of Federation troopers who work with Samus on Viros, something I'll touch on more in a bit, this moniker is juxtaposing Samus to the concept of her later working with the troopers. I think one of the elements of this game, and possibly its story, will be, in part, about Samus, and by extension the player, as far as gameplay is concerned, learning how to operate in a group, something we've never really done in Metroid up to this point. The only other games where we work alongside others in any capacity is Prime 3 and Other M, and the former really just consists of us protecting Federation troopers, and the other is pretty much just us by ourselves anyway, just being ordered around by Adam instead of doing what we want. Perhaps I'm reading into this a little too much, but in the event that I'm not, it'll be interesting to see how they handle developing Samus in the direction of being able to work with others.
Answers their distress call and becomes entangled in an unexpected...
Given that Silex is attacking the UTO research facility and is clearly after the artifact, I wonder if Silex was actually shooting at the artifact instead of Samus. We know the shock coil, Silex's weapon, fires a continuous stream, so if he was shooting at Samus, it's strange that he would stop the stream after she jumps instead of trying to hit her in the air. On the other hand, he stops firing once he hits the artifact, so that would certainly suggest that he was never really aiming at Samus.
The disaster.
The artifact's range of effect is definitely encompassing the entire facility, and we don't know how far it goes before stopping. There are two possibilities that arise from this. One is that everything here has been teleported to Viros, wherever that may be. The other possibility, given that time travel will likely be a part of the game, is that the artifact sent the entire planet backwards or forwards in time, and the various characters and things in the facility were, for lack of a better term, protected from the flow of time by the artifact to get here. Given where we see Samus getting up, being in the desert, this is likely the first area we'll be on Viros, as evidenced by the fact that her lights are still green, so she must have just arrived.
She awakens on an unknown planet called Viros. Now, She must fight.
Given the information being relayed here, basic info on the layout of the world and such, this is probably the first time Samus will communicate with the Lemorn. This should be coming sometime after the previous clip, given that Samus's lights are no longer green here. The fact that she's having this first conversation with the Lemorn after acquiring psychic abilities tells me that these are pre-recorded psychic projections of the Lemorn that she's speaking to, and that she won't be able to access Lemorn projections until she has psychic abilities, similar to how you need the energy transfer module to translate the purple Luminos scans in Prime 2. The map itself seems to show the major areas of the game. You can see the Great Tree from Fury Green and the factory from Volt Forge, for example. It also gives a sense of the geography of the planet, with the desert in the center, and from the angle we see the map from, the Volt Forge to the northwest, Fury Green to the northeast, what I'm assuming to be the Flare Pool to the southeast, and the Ice Belt to the southwest.
To survive the planet and find a way home. As Samus, you will explore lush jungles full of plant life. A factory roaring with thunderous storms. A research lab frozen in ice. And a facility nestled in a volcano.
I think it's interesting to note that the areas in this game appear to be predominantly mechanical. Between a facility, factory, and lab, 3 of the 5 major areas on Vuros we've seen thus far are mechanical in nature, suggesting that the Lemorn were highly active in technological respects when they were alive.
All of which contain remnants of a civilization long extinct.
This would further evidence the idea of the Lemorn's communications with Samus being psychic projections, since they can't be speaking with her live given this. We see the map right after this shot, so this is probably a map station.
The maps are maze-like and intricately detailed.
The map itself is blue in the area that Samus, represented by the arrow, is occupying, and is orange in a different room, which means that the colors for the map for rooms which have and have not been visited before have been inverted compared to the Prime trilogy. The map also appears to be less geographical in layout than the previous games. The complexity of the maps in the Prime trilogy have been a bit of a subject of complaint by some players in the past, so perhaps they simplified the map a bit in response. There's also an icon of a Federation trooper helmet with the word radio next to it. This suggests that while we're by ourselves, we can communicate with the Federation troopers we meet on the planet via radio. The X button prompt next to the icon also indicates that this radio is optional and can be turned on or off at any time through the map menu screen.
And ferocious beasts will stand in your way.
We see a third type of attack from the Cybot, joining their beam attack and shock blast from previous trailers. Some kind of shockwave that travels on the ground. We also see this big engine-looking thing to the right side, and I'm not sure what that could be, but I am curious about it.
The key to exploration is the scan visor, which you'll use to gather information from the environment.
The Great Tree and the Temple of Memory appear to be key landmarks of Fury Green. I wonder if we'll be bestowed with wisdom from or memories of the Lemorn when we arrive at these locations.
Why did this planet's civilization crumble? And what have they left behind?
This relates to an upcoming theory telecast of mine, but for now, I'll just say that since we see enemies on Vuros like Carvex that seem to have been parasitized by Metroids, I wonder if machines like these were made to study the genetic mutations caused by the Metroids and their effects on Vuros' native life forms.
Could there be a clue to your escape?
So this green energy must have been what was in those tubes in the flare pool that I was wondering about in the last trailer. There's no way to know what it does right now, so we'll have to wait and see. But for now, the safe guess would be to say that it's a fuel source similar to fuel gel on Brio, though perhaps less explosive.
Scan various objects to collect and analyze information to find a way forward.
Okay, yeah, so psychic projections, like I said. The fact that Samus has the second suit during this scene suggests that these projections will appear throughout the game, rather than just being something to give us exposition early on. They'll likely be there to point us from one objective to the next, and reveal some things about the Lamorn and Viros.
Your core abilities include Samus's Power Beam, which can shoot rapid fire or charged, highly accurate target tracking missiles, the ability to jump.
Yeah, we can finally jump!
The form-altering Morph Ball.
I think this is the first time we've seen the Morph Ball post-acquisition of the psychic abilities. Looks pretty good.
And dashing while locked on a target. During your adventure, you will also receive mysterious powers passed down on Viros. Psychic abilities. Direct the control beam's trajectory with the power of your mind. And use the Psychic Glove to manipulate energy and activate machinery.
So the Psychic Glove that allows you to move psychic orbs and manipulate mechanisms with them is its own upgrade? That's strange. Thought it would have been an upgrade tied to the initial obtainment of psychic abilities. At any rate, I'll presume that the Psychic Glove is acquired fairly early, based on where we see it being used in the second trailer, as well as in footage from the previews of the game played by various outlets, which happened after this trailer.
By harnessing these abilities, you can access new areas.
It looks like the grapple beam in this game will allow us to fly up to walls and cling to them, which is very reminiscent of the spider magnet from Metroid Dread. I do wonder why we get kicked to third-person mode when the grapple beam is beaming us up to our target, though. Either there will be opportunities later to do something while in this perspective, or Retro thought doing this in first person wouldn't look good, or perhaps that it would be headache-inducing or otherwise cause ailment or disorientation.
Greatly expanding the explorable world.
This room looks fairly reminiscent of the rooms in the research lab on Tanimar. If time travel is indeed involved in the game, I wonder if this area, the Ice Belt, is an area that came into existence when the research facility got sent back in time, and this is actually the opening area of the game, Lost to Time. Personally, I'm a sucker for revisiting an old area in a whole different state, like how we revisited the frigate Orpheon later after it crashed, so I hope I'm right on this one. Then again, I don't have any real concrete evidence for this, so it's likely nothing. Three things. First, the boost ball is back. Second, this is the first time we see how the morph ball looks with the second suit, although we can't really see it since it's surrounded by psychic energy or boost energy throughout the shot. Third, I wonder how this boost ball structure is being manifested. It's possible that psychic energy is allowing Samus to see this structure, or possibly to manifest it for herself. The other possibility is that, given the aforementioned likely time travel element, the structure is something that was there in the past or will be there in the future, and Samus is using psychic energy to allow herself to interact with this time-displaced structure. I wonder what it was that Samus just emerged out of. I don't think it would be her first time seeing the desert, as she has 2 E-tanks and 20 missiles in this shot, and it's not her entering with the bike, as she gets the bike either after or alongside the red suit, and she's still in her Varia suit here. There's no way to know for sure, but it's worth keeping an eye out for.
The various zones are connected by a central desert called Soul Valley.
So as mentioned in my third trailer analysis, Soul Valley seems to function as a hub world. We also see a couple more ruined buildings, further evidencing the Lamorn's former presence here.
By obtaining Viola, a machine left behind by an ancient civilization, you can freely traverse the roadless desert as you head for each zone. Certain actions can be taken while riding Viola.
I don't think we know about where that tower there takes us yet. If I had to guess, this could be another possible option for a base for the Federation troopers to stay in while we go out on solo missions.
These include countering attacks from approaching enemies and smashing crystals at high speed to convert them into the energy you'll need on your adventure.
I'm not sure what the energy will be needed for. It doesn't seem like the bike requires a fuel source, so it's not that. Perhaps this crystal is related to the green energy mentioned earlier, and will be required to fuel certain mechanisms on Vuros. It's also possible that these crystals grant psychic energy, and collecting them will increase Samus's psychic power, allowing her to do things with the psychic abilities that she otherwise couldn't.
Plus, if Samus is in a location where she can ride Viola, it can be summoned instantly.
Given that, we can assume there's no station that the bike stays at that we have to retrieve it from when we want to use it. This does raise the question of how the bike can be summoned instantaneously, but that could probably be chalked up to psychic shenanigans, and if not that, then at worst, it's just a gameplay mechanic, don't overthink it.
And by dismounting, you'll return to a first-person perspective to continue exploring. Like Samus, some Galactic Federation troopers
Dang, that's gotta be the realest looking human a Nintendo game has ever rendered.
were also transported to Vuros.
Data received.
Follow distress signals to help the troopers and occasionally battle alongside them.
So, from what we've seen of the game so far, my educated guess is that occasionally fighting alongside the troopers means that we'll be fighting with them about 15 to 20% of the time, and on our own the other 80 to 85%. The squad also appears to consist of 4 humans, 3 male and 1 female, as well as a mech, though whether there's secretly someone piloting the mech or it's a robot that functions autonomously remains to be seen. What was that? I love his goofy scream. I can't lie, I died laughing the first time I heard that.
Can even provide useful upgrades.
This bridge was seen in the footage revealing the Switch 2 version of the game at the Switch 2 Direct, but Mackenzie wasn't there. It's possible they hid him for that earlier trailer for whatever reason, but he certainly wasn't there. The bridge also wasn't damaged like this the other times we've seen it, so I wonder if this is just something that got changed over the course of development, or if, more likely, something damaged the bridge in the short time that Samus has been there.
Teamwork is key if any of you hope to escape the planet alive.
So the guy's name is Tokabi. Probably pronounced that wrong. Anyways, I know the last guy is named Miles Mackenzie, but I don't think we know the full names of the other characters just yet. Tokabi, based on his weapon and the little peripheral attached to his head, appears to be some kind of sniper. Alright, we've got the name of the robot. More importantly, this seems like the best time to talk about the beam upgrades. It seems that we'll be acquiring 3 throughout the game, and they occupy the empty slots around the missiles in the weapons section of the hood. Based on what the last shot showed, the icons, and what we've seen from the game, the weapons are presumably a fire or lava-based weapon, an ice-based weapon, and a lightning-based weapon. These upgrades will presumably be found in the Flare Pool, Ice Belt, and Volt Forge respectively. However, the area we see the fire or lava-based weapon being acquired in doesn't really look like the Flare Pool, so that could be incorrect, although maybe it just looks different because it's a room dedicated to the item. It wouldn't be that the beams are required to unlock the corresponding areas for sure though, as we see Samus in the Ice Belt without the ice-based weapon. I'm trying so hard right now not to call it the Ice Beam. Lastly, these weapons appear to be ammo-based, much like the special beams in Prime 2. The other 2 are called Duke and Armstrong. The latter name is interesting, as it is likely a reference to Houston Armstrong, a character from the non-canon Super Metroid comic. Later material shows that the guy we saw before is the one here called Duke, and the girl, who we see in just a second, is the one called Armstrong. Moreover, it appears that they'll occasionally provide assistance in the puzzle-solving department on top of sometimes assisting in combat. I'm also curious what the little arrows next to their names indicate, but there's no way to know that for now. Another variant of the so-called abhorrent aliens from the second trailer, ones that spring up through the ground and walls. I wonder if each area will have its own variant of this enemy, each with abilities unique to themselves. This enemy also noticeably has a hole in its head in the spot where the Lamorn have their psychic appendage, as well as where Samus's suit has the gemstone, a detail relevant to my upcoming theory telecast.
Rock. Alright, I'm in. What do you say? Teammates?
This line is likely spliced over this footage and not actually a part of this cutscene, because otherwise the troopers will be meeting up a lot later in the game than you'd think, given that Samus is in her second suit here. Also, we don't see the mech here. Maybe it's off doing something else, or maybe it hasn't appeared yet. Either way, its absence is something to be monitored.
It appears you require assistance. I had no interest in anyone but my family.
I saw someone in the comments under the overview trailer that put a timestamp of this part and commented, "Sweet Home Alabama." If the person who said that is watching this broadcast, I just want to let you know, you're wild for that.
Now it's a little different.
Hey look, another variant of the creatures from the second trailer, one with some kind of green substance covering them.
When we get home, I hope we can keep the band together.
I can't wait to see my family.
There, Ned.
In other news, it appears that we'll be fighting a flamethrower enemy similar to the incinerator drone from Prime, only significantly more intense from the looks of it.
When I get back home, I'll be taking a much-needed leave.
Some kind of sandworm creature leaps out, and other than the fact that it reminded me of the desert worms from Beetlejuice for some reason, I don't have much to say about these guys, other than the fact that they probably won't appear until after Samus obtains Viola, as they'd be too difficult to avoid otherwise. More interesting is the number of green markers on the minimap. Green markers signify allies, so I wonder why there are so many of them here. I doubt we'll be finding more Federation troopers, or there'd be too many in the game, so it's gotta be something else.
A new fate and an unknown destiny await on planet Vuros. Samus and her allies.
Two new boss enemies. The first seems to be a boss for the flare pool. The second appears to be in the Volt Forge, I believe. The second boss also kind of reminds me of a few different things we've seen before in Metroid. It reminds me of Helios from Prime 3, it reminds me very vaguely of the Slench from Prime Hunters, and it reminds me of Blast Ball from Federation Force too.
Fight to survive.
Interestingly, Sylex's right arm seems to be without the shock coil here. The two possible reasons for this are either that the shock coil is retractable, or that the weapon was somehow forcefully removed. The fact that he's evidently staggered here would be evidence towards the latter, though I can't say for sure why the shock coil is missing in this scene. He also appears to be getting out of something. He's also holding his head, which is notable, as I previously theorized that Sylex may have obtained psychic abilities on Vuros as well as Samus. If that proves true, then he may be staggered and holding his head due to receiving a psychic vision.
Is about to begin.
With how this shot appears, and the way it follows the previous shot, it looks to me like this shot is a vision Samus is having. I'm gonna go out and make a very bold claim here. The Federation trooper that we see in this vision is Sylex. I think when we see this vision, we're going to see what happened here, as in why he's on the ground and everything's on fire, and what happened immediately afterwards, as I'm betting that whatever it is that happened here is what caused Sylex to hate the Federation and Samus.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Available December 4th, only on the Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch systems.
Dang, I thought that game was going to be launching for the Dreamcast. What do I do now?
Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop. The footage shown was from the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. You can use mouse controls for intuitive gameplay on Switch 2. Simply adjust how you hold the Joy-Con 2 controllers to seamlessly swap between standard and mouse controls as you play.
This room, for lack of a better term, is extremely large for a Metroid Prime room. I wonder if there will be other rooms of this size and openness throughout the game, or if this is more like just the entrance to the Ice Belt, meant to be a literal grand entrance.
Plus, you can explore the immersive world in 4K at 60 frames per second. or enjoy smoother action in full HD at 120 frames per second.
Imagine telling someone in 2007 that the next Prime game would be in 4K 60 FPS and look like this. Truly, these are glorious times.
Choose from these two modes, both of which support HDR, based on your preference and playstyle.
We see some spider ball tracks to the left side of the screen, so that upgrade should be coming back. More important is the new ability we see, with Samus slingshotting off of these nodes while in Morph Ball form. If I had to guess, this is the grapple beam being used in Morph Ball form. How exactly this is going to work is beyond me, pun intended.
The Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game can be played on Switch 2.
No way!
Please be sure to purchase the game edition that matches your system. Plus, Nintendo Switch 2 players who have Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on Nintendo Switch can upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition by purchasing the upgrade pack. 3 new Metroid Prime 4 Beyond series amiibo figures will also be available. Tap these amiibo to unlock additional features in the game.
Each of these amiibos provides something interesting. For the Samus amiibo, it raises the question of what a health shield is, as that's not something we've seen up to this point. For the Viola amiibo, it shows that the bike can be fitted with different visual designs. I wonder if Samus will get alternate skins to match the bike as well. For Silex, given that it says easier access to an in-game cutscene, and is thus referring to one cutscene, presumably, I'm assuming that scanning the Silex amiibo will let you see the cutscene that reveals who he is, his backstory, or both, if those are part of the same cutscene. Given this possibility, I should warn any of you who get the Silex amiibo to not scan it until after you've completed the game at least once, lest you spoil the story contents contained in the cutscene for yourself. That's the trailer. The last thing I'll say from an analysis standpoint is that I'm wondering where the space pirates are. They were on the base at Tanimar when the artifact went off, and we've seen all of Samus, Silex, Metroid's Federation troopers, and Federation machinery on Viros at points from the second trailer onwards, yet we haven't seen a single space pirate here so far. Maybe something happened to them and Retro is hiding what it is, or maybe they're holed up somewhere, which is why we don't see them in the areas that have been shown, or maybe Retro's just hiding their presence for whatever reason. But no matter what the case, it's very strange that they haven't appeared, because I find it hard to believe that the pirates simply didn't get transported or all died on Viros or something like that. That concludes my analysis of this trailer. With that done, I like to end by leaving a few short personal thoughts. For starters, the usual applies here once again. Great graphics and aesthetics, amazing music, interesting environments and enemies, etc. Beyond those things, I love how much the game seems to be pulling from Prime 2, like beam ammo and some of the game's aesthetic choices. Prime 1 is the best the trilogy has to offer in my opinion, but Prime 2 is a very close second, and I'm happy to see prominent elements of it like beam ammo being reused here. I also think that the whole mystery of Viros is really intriguing, and I can't wait to witness the story of Prime 4 unfold. Finally, the last thing to talk about, the Federation troopers. Their presence in and incorporation into the gameplay is largely uncharted territory, and I'm interested to see how it will work in the game. From a writing standpoint, their dialogue seems fairly basic, but the trailer only has time to let each of them say like 2 lines, so it'd be pretty silly to judge the characters with such a limited sample of what they'll be like. I have seen footage of Miles McKenzie from the previews I mentioned earlier though. I'll say that his dialogue is very tropey and ultimately subpar. It's not like insultingly terrible or anything like that, but I certainly hope that the other troopers' dialogue is better than what I've seen of McKenzie's. Nonetheless, I'm very happy with this trailer. It shows a lot of great looking stuff, both literally and figuratively, and overall, I think it was a really good overview trailer. I'm beyond hyped for this game to come out, pun intended again. And with that, I've said everything I'd like to about the trailer, and that means that I have now completed my analysis of every major trailer from Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. How about you, though? Is there something you caught in this trailer or the other ones that you think I missed? Did you disagree with my personal thoughts on the footage shown here or elsewhere? Or is there just something on your mind that you'd like to share with me? If you have anything, feel free to share your thoughts in the digital reply box down below. Station feedback is always appreciated and helps the channel to grow and improve with time. That will be all for today's transmission. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be on View Roast if you need me, and I'll see you next broadcast. What did it take for you to wait all this time? To wait for the next prime, my dear hunters. I just think back to all the days of wondering about Prime 4, wondering what's in store, where the game will go. I just want to know. I'll never want to let go once it's mine. Yet still I'll miss the feeling of waiting for it to arrive. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I got the chance to know this. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I lived to see this moment. I will treasure it forever. I will love Prime 4 until I die. Chasing after dreams lying far beyond the sky, we watch the game launch and take us to a world no one has seen. All the many quiet days have made this possible, and yet those days will fade into the past, so they're lost to time. We can't be all that long away now. With how far we've come, we'll never turn back around. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I got the chance to know this. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I lived to see this moment. I will treasure it forever. I will love Prime 4 until I die. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I got the chance to know this. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I lived to see this moment. I will treasure it forever. I will love Prime 4 until I die. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I got the chance to know this. As the years pass, I'll be so glad that I lived to see this moment. I will treasure it forever. I will love Prime 4 until I die.